What if I told you that one man's death at age 32 prevented the creation of the largest, most advanced empire the ancient world would ever see? An empire that would have stretched from Spain to India. An empire that could have accelerated human progress by centuries. June 11, 323 BCE. Babylon. Alexander the Great dies in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar II, just shy of his 33rd birthday. The cause? Still debated. Malaria, typhoid fever, poisoning, or perhaps excessive drinking. But here's the question that's haunted historians for over 2,000 years: what if he hadn't died? Welcome back to Echoes of Empires, where we explore the alternate paths history could have taken. Today, we're letting Alexander live. Not just survive his illness, but thrive for another 48 years, dying peacefully at age 80 in the year 276 BCE. Let's see how one man's survival could have reshaped the entire world. First, let's establish what Alexander had already accomplished. By age 32, he had conquered the Persian Empire, Egypt, parts of India, and everything in between. Over 5 million square kilometers under his control. But here's the crucial detail: he had just started administering this massive territory. In our timeline, Alexander's death triggered the Wars of the Diadochi, the Wars of Succession. His generals carved up the empire like a birthday cake, creating the Hellenistic kingdoms, Ptolemaic Egypt, the Seleucid Empire, Antigonid Macedonia, and others. Decades of warfare, millions dead, and Alexander's dream shattered. But in our alternate timeline, Alexander recovers from his illness in Babylon. According to ancient sources, he had been planning new campaigns. He wasn't done. Not even close. Plutarch and Diodorus Siculus both mention Alexander's last plans, found in his notebooks after his death. These included conquest of Arabia, circumnavigation and conquest of North Africa, including Carthage, conquest of the Western Mediterranean, construction of 1,000 warships larger than triremes, building a road across North Africa, massive population transfers to mix Eastern and Western peoples. His generals thought these plans were too ambitious, too expensive, too crazy. They voted to ignore them. But with Alexander alive, these aren't fantasies. These are imperial directives. 324 to 320 BCE. Alexander's first move in our timeline would have been Arabia. Why? 3 reasons: wealth, trade routes, and strategic positioning. Arabia controlled the incense trade, the spice routes from India, and had ports connecting Africa, India, and Mesopotamia. It was also the one major region near his empire he hadn't conquered. For a man who supposedly wept because there were no more worlds to conquer, this was unfinished business. The campaign would take approximately 4 years. Alexander's army, battle-hardened and experienced, would have adapted to desert warfare. Historical records show he was already building a fleet in Babylon specifically for this purpose. He had already incorporated Persian and Indian military tactics. Now he'd master the desert. Following his pattern, Alexander would found cities along the coast. Alexandria of the Gulf. Alexandria of the Red Sea. Each one a center of Greek culture, trade, and military power. But here's where it gets interesting. Remember, Alexander wasn't just a conqueror. He was a cultural revolutionary. He married Roxana from Bactria, then married Persian princesses. He forced 10,000 of his officers to marry Persian women in the mass wedding at Susa. He wore Persian dress. He adopted Persian court ceremonies. This wasn't just political theater. Alexander genuinely believed in fusion, creating a hybrid Greco-Persian Egyptian-Indian culture. His critics called it madness. History might have called it genius. 320 to 310 BCE. With Arabia secured, Alexander looks west. And there's one power that concerns him: Carthage. Carthage wasn't just wealthy. It was the naval power of the Western Mediterranean. It controlled North Africa, parts of Spain, Sicily, Sardinia, and Corsica. Its trade network rivaled Alexander's entire empire. Here's the bombshell: if Alexander conquers Carthage, Rome never becomes a superpower. The Punic Wars never happen. Hannibal never crosses the Alps. The entire trajectory of Western civilization changes. Remember those 1,000 warships Alexander wanted to build? In our timeline, they're gathering dust on drawing boards. In this timeline, they're reality. The Macedonian fleet, combined with the Phoenician and Egyptian navies he already controlled, would outnumber Carthage's fleet 3-1. The siege of Carthage would be brutal. Alexander had already proven at Tyre that he could conquer seemingly impregnable coastal cities. Carthage would fall, probably around 312 BCE. With Carthage conquered, southern Spain, Sicily, Sardinia, and Corsica fall like dominoes. Alexander now controls every coastline of the Mediterranean except one, Italy. And here's where we need to talk about Rome. In 312 BCE, Rome is still recovering from the Samnite Wars. It's powerful, sure, but regionally. It's not the Rome of Caesar or Augustus. It's a large city-state with ambitions. Alexander had options. He could invade, but that means guerrilla warfare in the Italian mountains. Or, he could do what Alexander did best, diplomacy backed by overwhelming force. Rome becomes a client kingdom, maintains internal autonomy, but swears fealty to Alexander. Think of it like the relationship between Rome and the Italian allies before the Social War, but reversed. Rome is the junior partner. Macedonian garrisons in Ostia and Tarentum. Roman legions fighting under the Macedonian banner. Roman senators paying tribute to Babylon. 310 to 276 BCE. The last 34 years of Alexander's life. Let's talk about what he builds. Infrastructure. Alexander's last plans mentioned a road across North Africa. But why stop there? The Royal Road of Persia would be extended west to Spain and east to India. Improved harbor facilities at every major port. Lighthouse networks modeled on Alexandria's Pharos, but spanning from Gibraltar to the Ganges. Population transfers. This is where Alexander's vision gets controversial. He wanted to move populations wholesale to mix cultures. Greeks and Macedonians to Bactria and India. Persians and Indians to Egypt and Libya. The goal? Eliminate ethnic divisions by making everyone mixed. Would it work? Partially. Some communities would integrate. Others would resist. But the cultural flowering would be unprecedented. Greek philosophy meeting Indian mathematics. Persian astronomy combining with Egyptian medicine. Phoenician navigation merged with Greek shipbuilding. Centers of learning wouldn't just be in Alexandria. They'd be in Babylon, Persepolis, Taxila, Carthage. Imagine the Library of Alexandria multiplied across a dozen cities, sharing knowledge through that royal road network. This is where alternate history gets speculative but fascinating. Could this cultural exchange accelerate technological progress? In our timeline, the Antikythera mechanism shows the ancient Greeks were capable of creating analog computers. The Archimedes screw revolutionized irrigation. What happens when you multiply this innovation across a unified empire of 50 million people? Militarily, the empire would be unstoppable. Battle-tested armies using combined Greek, Persian, Indian, and Celtic tactics. Elephants from India. Cavalry from Persia and Bactria. Phalanxes from Greece. Germanic and Celtic mercenaries from the north. The empire's final borders by 280 BCE. West, Atlantic Ocean, all of Spain, Gaul up to the Rhine. East, Ganges River Valley, all of northern India. North, Danube River, Caucasus Mountains. South, Sub-Saharan Africa, Arabian Sea. Population, approximately 60 to 70 million. That's roughly 30 to 40% of the entire world's population under one government. 276 BCE. Alexander the Great dies peacefully in Babylon at age 80. He's outlived most of his companions. Ptolemy, Seleucus, Antigonus, they're all dead. But unlike our timeline, Alexander had time to plan succession. Let's talk about his heirs. In our timeline, Alexander had two sons, Alexander IV by Roxana, who was murdered, and Heracles by Bar-Sine, also murdered. In our timeline, he might have also had a son with his wife Statira, possibly murdered while pregnant. In this timeline, all of them survive to adulthood. Alexander has 48 extra years to have more children, legitimize them, and train them. He likely would have had 8 to 12 children from multiple wives, following both Macedonian and Persian customs. But here's the genius move: Alexander learned from watching the Persian Empire collapse after Darius III. He wouldn't leave succession to chance or strength. He'd create a system. The empire would be divided into satrapies, like Persia, but with a twist. Each of Alexander's legitimate sons would govern a region as a semi-autonomous king, but all would swear fealty to the eldest son as the King of Kings, the paramount ruler in Babylon. So you'd have Kingdom of the West, Spain, North Africa, Italy, capital, Carthage. Kingdom of Greece and Macedon, capital, Pella. Kingdom of Egypt, capital, Alexandria. Kingdom of Babylon, the paramount kingdom, capital, Babylon. Kingdom of Persia, capital, Persepolis. Kingdom of Bactria and India, capital, Taxila. It's a federation. A commonwealth. Each kingdom maintains local autonomy, local culture, local military. But they're bound by treaty, trade, and family to the paramount king in Babylon. So what's different about world history? Rome never becomes an empire. It remains a regional power, maybe eventually gaining independence, but it never conquers the Mediterranean. No Roman Empire means no Roman roads across Europe, no Latin becoming the basis of Romance languages, no Roman law as the foundation of Western legal systems. Christianity develops differently, if at all. Without Roman infrastructure and persecution driving the spread of early Christianity, it might remain a minor Judean sect. Or it spreads through Hellenistic channels instead, becoming more philosophically Greek. The Islamic Golden Age happens differently. Without the collapse of both Rome and Persia creating a power vacuum, there's no rapid Islamic expansion in the 7th century. Maybe Islam still emerges, but in a world where Alexander's empire still stands, or its successor states do. Technology advances faster. That unified empire, that cultural exchange, those centers of learning, they accelerate innovation. Printing press in 800 CE instead of 1450. Steam power in 1200 instead of 1700. It's possible. The modern world would be unrecognizable. Different languages. Different religions. Different borders. Different everything. But here's the haunting part. None of this happened because one man drank too much wine, or caught malaria, or was poisoned in a palace in Babylon in 323 BCE. One death. One moment. Everything changed. That's the power of alternate history. One different decision, one different outcome, and the entire world transforms. Alexander the Great died at 32, and the world splintered. But if he had lived to 80, we might be living in Alexander's world right now. What do you think? Could Alexander have held this empire together? Would it have lasted beyond his sons? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into what could have been, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Next time on Echoes of Empires, we're asking, what if Carthage won the Punic Wars? Until then, remember, history isn't just what happened. It's what could have happened. This is Echoes of Empires, and I'll see you in the next timeline.